All right, let's jump right into this explainer. I want you to do something really simple for me. Just picture a typical Harley-Davidson rider in your head right now. Think about what they are wearing, how they act, and who they are. I'm willing to bet a very specific and probably very familiar image just popped right into your mind.
Let me guess, you pictured that classic 1950s macho outlaw biker, right? Maybe somebody looking a bit like Marlon Brando from those old Hollywood movies, clad in a uniform of rebellious black leather. Well, the reality out on the roads today is vastly different. What we actually have now is this highly diverse, and brace yourself for a bit of an academic term here, a post-modern enthusiast. Today's riders are complex individuals. They are balancing some incredibly demanding social roles, and they are literally using their motorcycles and specifically their gear to navigate those identities.
To put this shift into perspective, today, 19% of all U.S. motorcycle owners are women. That is nearly 1 in 5. And this represents a massive demographic shift in a notoriously stagnant market. Just to give you some context, ever since the 2008 economic crisis, new motorcycle sales have really struggled to rebound. In fact, Harley's own general merchandise and apparel sales plummeted by a whopping 20% over a recent 13-year period. Because of that sharp decline, this growing, highly motivated female demographic isn't just a fun fact. It is an absolute lifeline vital to the brand's future survival and evolution. So welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are stripping away those old Hollywood myths and diving deep into the sociology of the open road. We are going to explore exactly how Harley-Davidson gear functions as so much more than just clothing. It's a profound tool for identity formation, social connection, and empowerment, particularly for the women who are increasingly taking over the handlebars.
Section 1. Beyond the Outlaw Myth, Understanding Riders.
It's honestly fascinating how this culture has fundamentally evolved over the decades. I mean, we started post-World War II with the birth of the rough, male-dominated outlaw clubs, the one-percenters. Then, a major shift happened in the 1980s and 90s when affluent baby boomers like doctors, lawyers, and dentists took up riding as a weekend hobby, which really heavily softened the public's perception of bikers. And today, the culture is what researchers call a mosaic of microcultures. Personal expression is rapidly replacing that strict, stereotypical black leather uniform of the past.
Section 2. Female rider demographics, shifting the narrative.
So, while female riders are still a minority, accounting for that 19% we mentioned, they are an incredibly powerful force. They aren't just participating, they are fundamentally redefining what femininity looks like inside a historically patriarchal and masculine subculture. They are shifting the narrative from just riding on the back to leading the pack. And just look at who these riders actually are. The median age is 39, and get this, an impressive 47% hold a college or postgraduate degree. Almost half of them are married too. So these aren't the fringe societal rebels of the 1950s. These are highly educated women. They are mothers, managers, and professionals who are expertly navigating very traditional roles outside of motorcycling. Maybe swapping out a briefcase or a diaper bag for leather saddlebags when the weekend hits.
Section 3, Symbolic Consumption, Gear as Identity. All right, this brings us to the psychological core of our explainer. We need to talk about a concept called symbolic consumption. Think of this kind of like your daily wardrobe acting as a social billboard. For these riders, Harley gear is the ultimate tool. It loudly communicates their identity, signals their values, and most importantly, it helps them find their tribe. It is never just a t-shirt. It is a conversation starter that instantly connects them with like-minded individuals. Take the Harley Owners Group or Hog Patch, for example. To a rider, this isn't just a piece of woven fabric. No way. It is a social passport. It instantly signals in-group status and creates immediate camaraderie with other riders, whether they are passing on the highway or just stopping at a local gas station. It proves their authenticity and their commitment to the lifestyle. And subgroups like the Chrome Divas take this a whole step further. They use specific gear, patches, and symbols to forge this really unique, empowering sisterhood on the open road. It is a powerful way to claim their own space in a male-dominated arena, all while building deep supportive relationships and a true sense of shared belonging with other women. Section 4. Managing Roles, Dress, and Performativity. So how do these women balance being a dedicated biker with being a professional or a parent? Well, researchers call this balancing act appearance labor and performativity. Essentially, women strategically swap their gear depending on the setting.
They will use loud, conspicuous logos for weekend motorcycle rallies to proudly show their brand loyalty. But then they switch to subdued, subtle logos so they can seamlessly transition right into a Monday morning boardroom or a Sunday church service. It lets them dodge negative social stereotyping while still keeping a piece of their riding identity close at hand.
They're also highly selective about the actual symbols they wear. It is not just about slapping a logo on a shirt. Many women actively reject skull logos because they associate them with tempting fate or death, really pulling away from that old outlaw image. On the flip side, they absolutely embrace eagles and flags, which symbolize freedom and patriotism. They also carefully navigate the pink versus black divide. A lot of women avoid overtly pink, rhinestone-covered items because they want to reject this sort of forced stereotypical femininity. But above all else, they prioritize functionality. They want gear that genuinely protects them against the harsh elements of the road while reflecting true, authentic independence.
Section 5. The armor of empowerment. Psychological impact. All of this builds into the psychological impact of putting on this gear, what we can really call the armor of empowerment. This is where the real transformation happens for these riders. Quote, "I have a sense of badassness." When you hear self-definitions like this directly from the research participants, it becomes brilliantly clear that this gear is so much more than just a fashion statement or a way to stay warm. It is a literal catalyst for self-actualization and personal strength. Another writer noted, quote, "I feel pretty sassy most of the time. I feel confident. Putting on heavy boots, thick leather, and durable denim acts as a literal and figurative armor. Yes, it protects them from the physical dangers out on the highway, but it also directly translates into a massive boost in internal self-esteem and mental resilience. It is like flipping a switch."
And listen to this quote. "I am a woman rider. I am a very independent person and strong-willed. By mastering a heavy, powerful machine and wearing the gear that signifies that mastery, these women are forging a brand new, highly complex form of femininity. It completely shatters those old passive stereotypes and proves that they are so much more than just their traditional societal roles." So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want you to think about your own life for a second. Even if you have never been anywhere near a motorcycle, what is your gear? What is the symbolic armor that you put on to tackle your day? And what identity is it helping you build? Thanks so much for joining me today, and keep exploring the deeper meanings behind the things we wear every single day.